So yeah. Right.
What if it still wasn't loud enough? You needed to get it even like blacker. You know, it's like you put on a CD from the store and it's like way louder still. You know?
Right. Well, if it still wasn't loud enough, I would definitely.
Where would you start cranking?
I would. No, thank you very much. Maybe some signal. Oh wait, you know what? The reason we're not hearing anything is because we did that. So I need to turn it back down and press play. So the question was, how do we get even louder?
How loud can you get that without making it sound weird or distorting? That's what I'm asking.
Okay. The question, to rephrase, was how loud can we get this before it sounds terrible? Let's see. I'd say that's about it. Right now, in fact, let me turn that on. Right now, I'm either at 0 dB or over. So, you know, this is where we're at in terms of loudness. If I went any higher, then it would sound terrible. So that's how loud we can get before it distorts.
Is there any visual cue that it's distorting, really, or not?
The visual cue would be if it goes into the red.
That's it, huh?
So you see if I click, it resets the meter. And basically every time a peak overloads a dynamic range, in this case by 0.2 or 0.1 of a dB, it goes red and it tells you.
So
is this something you can use on surround mixes, or would you advise using it on surround mixes?
Well, at the moment, Ozone 5, it's stereo only, so it doesn't support surround mixes, although that is something we're working on for the future. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it at this point, simply because you'd need several instances of Ozone, and you'd also have to, if you made a change in one, you'd have to make a change in another, and it would probably hinder your workflow more than sticking with what you know for now, until maybe Ozone 5 does support surround. So yeah, right now it's really more of a stereo tool, but we have lots of mastering friends that would like surround as well. Am I right, Brett? Yeah. He's product manager.
Do you ever end up mastering with it going over on the output?
No. I would. I mean, there's many cases. The question was, do I ever end up mastering where I'm going over at the output? There are many cases where I might be going as close to the output as humanly possible. Sometimes it's by request of the client. Sometimes it's just how I choose to do things. Sometimes they want it so loud that it might not sound great, and you have to try and talk it down a little bit. But no, I would. If I see something in the red, I would turn it down.
You normally go 0 or -1?
So the question was, do I normally go 0 or -1? I actually normally go like maybe negative 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Yeah, I don't normally have this guy at 0. And in extreme cases, I might drop it down a little bit more. But yeah, I always like to have the margin just a little bit lower. It makes me feel safe.
And what about the input? You can go over a little on that one?
Yeah, well, again, if my input is overloading like it is right now, I would always start by bringing it down before I master it, because otherwise I'm going to be starting from the point of distortion, as opposed to it being my fault if I did something silly in the mastering chain. Yeah. Any other questions?
You already covered the use of reverb in mastering, or?
Okay, yeah. So reverb, I guess, in mastering, it depends very much on the situation. Some mastering engineers really don't like the idea of using reverb. I'll tell you where I've used it and it was useful. If you have a very dry sounding mix, like a string quartet that was maybe recorded in a very dead room, or in some cases, an engineer we had yesterday, it would send 2 recordings to be put on the same disc, the same orchestra recorded by 2 different engineers, one of whom liked more reverb than the other. so they didn't match, but they had to. It's the same orchestra, the same recording, the same CD. So in that case, he did use just a touch of reverb to make them sound okay with one another. And the example I was mentioning before, if it's a very dead sounding mix, I might use it to liven it up a little bit. From personal experience, I typically use anywhere between like 0.5. This is an extreme example. I normally use anywhere between 0.5 and maybe 2% wet.
It goes good with live music, because I do a lot of live. I used to do a little teeny bit on the solo.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Sometimes with live recordings, you can get a little...
There's also a way to split the stereo width and have the reverb kind of on the outside of the stereo.
Yeah, I'll show you how you do that. So he was asking about how you split the reverb, so you can apply it maybe to the outside. So that's mid-side processing. You'll see here, my my reverb is currently in stereo. If I turn it to mid-side, it's now mid-side reverb. And what that it's doing is, instead of my signal being left and right, I have now a center channel and a collection of side channels. And if I click on my mid, that's my center channel. Any reverb changes I make apply only to the mid. Which is where my vocals, my snare drum, things like that are typically mixed. If I click onto my side and everything turns blue, I'm now applying reverb only to the side channels. So for you, that's how you do it. You turn it into a mid-sided reverb, you click on the side, and now when you make a change to the reverb, it's only going to affect what's coming out of the far extreme of the stereo image as opposed to what's in the center. So if your vocal is like reverb and delay heavy and you're happy with that, you can leave it there. But if you want some more reverb on the outside, it adds in many ways perceived width.
So in essence, you're splitting it into left, center, right.
We're splitting it into center and side. Yeah. So there's not three things. There's two things. So instead of having left and right, we're having mid and side. And then with each module, actually in Ozone, they can be both a mid-side or a stereo, or in fact a left-right as well, where we would apply processing separately to the left channel and the right channel. And each module can have a different setting, so it encodes it and decodes it, whereas before, if you were in mid-side, you would be in mid-side, period, for everything that you did in Ozone. So now you can have a mid-side reverb, or you can have a stereo EQ, and you can combine them all together. Mid-side processing is definitely a useful tool. You do have to be careful how you use it, because if it's used badly or it's used too much, you really start to screw with the phase of your signal, and it actually starts to sound a lot worse, which I think in general with mastering is the exact opposite of what we want to do. But it's always good to A/B, which is why I mentioned that option to begin with. Automatically match effective gain, because when I turn that on and I bypass Ozone, it makes sure it's the same volume. So I'm not just liking it because, oh, it sounds louder. I'm thinking, is the dynamics that I'm actually doing making it sound better? So, yeah, any more questions?
Can you talk about the compression, go through the controls, and compression, the knees and so on?
So we have both a hard knee and a soft knee now. Let me get some music going. Cool. So I'm doing single band compression now. I'm compressing my entire mix inside. I'm going to back off this for a little bit. So we actually have, for each band, we have a limiter, a compressor, and a gate. So the limiter would be this guy up top. This is my compressor, and this is my gate. So right now we're doing some compression. Now you'll notice if I set my ratio to 1:1:0:1, nothing's happening. If I bring my ratio up, I'm now doing a bit of gain reduction when I exceed my threshold. And the purpose of our knee, if I change it, in fact I can change it here I think. So there we go. So you see how the angle there is changing? When it's very, very harsh, as my signal goes over the threshold, it immediately begins to I was going to say be reduced. It sounds silly, but it immediately begins to go down in
You
level.
limit the lows more
Yeah,
than
exactly.
the mid-range, that kind of thing.
But I can make that much more soft and less harsh. And like you said, generally, if I have a multi-band module, I might want to be very, very harsh on some bands and very soft on others. And when it's more soft, it simply has a more gentle. Instead of just stamping on it as soon as it goes over the threshold, it sort of eases in on the signal. That's the difference between hard and soft knee. And that's something that we changed with Ozone 5, the fact that you can do both, which you couldn't do before. A cool feature, and then of course you can show all and see all 4 bands if you're using them side by side. That's an improvement from Ozone 4 as well. So.
When you upgrade, do you keep your Ozone 4 and then you have another Ozone 5?
Yeah, good question. So when you upgrade, you don't overwrite Ozone 4, you install a new product. So you'll see in your list of plugins, Ozone 4 and 5. So you don't have to worry about anything that you don't want to lose about, like a preset in 4 or something like that. You'll still have that. It's an entirely new plugin. There's a lot of new DSP in there. And it's actually quite funny now when I go back. This has only been out since November, and obviously we've been working with it much longer than that. But I've now become so used to it that when I go back to Ozone 4 just for fun, I'm just like, how did I ever do this? It looks so different, it sounds so different, it's much smaller, and there's just very little in the way of showing me what's going on when comparing it to Ozone 5. It's still fantastic, but Ozone 5 is really it's a huge improvement. I think,
So 99 bucks, you get the 5. Right?
Yeah, so if you already own a copy of Ozone and you want to upgrade, it's $99 to upgrade.
500 for advanced, right?
Yeah, and to upgrade, so Ozone 5 is $249. If you're going in cold, Ozone 5 Advanced is $9.99. And if you're upgrading from Ozone 4 to Ozone 5, it's $99. If you're upgrading from Ozone 4 to Ozone 5 Advanced, I think it's $5.99. Or $4.99. I think $5.99.
In Ozone 4, can you solo the frequencies and the EQ? Like you did on
The old click to solo thing?
Solo, yeah.
Yes, you can.
In 4?
Yes, that's one of the sort of lesser known features, but it is a really cool feature. Yeah, you can do that in Ozone 4.
So what do you like, what do you find super handy in the 5? You can do it 4.
I find the new limiter particularly useful. I love the harmonic excited. So these new tube model modes, they're actually much more intelligent in terms of how they model the circuit, and I love the sound of them. I do find myself using those a lot. And the EQ is useful. Like I said, having the mixed phase EQ, I do love that as well. So those are probably the main things that I personally like. I also do use, you'll notice if I go to my mix window, move that out of the way, I am using a standalone reverb as on my reverb bus for the entire song. So because Ozone 5 Advanced comes with each plugin, each module is a separate plugin, I can now do that. So that's what it looks like with just my reverb, and I'm using that on a reverb mix bus.
You need the advanced one to do that?
You do, yes. That's advanced only. But the neat thing is, if I made a reverb preset in here that I like, when I'm using Ozone 5, it's going to be in there as well. So I don't lose anything when going between the plugin and the full
Or imaging guitar.
Right. Yeah, so and you want to be careful about using the standalone modules on different elements within your mix. They're more designed for the mastering engineer who says, okay, I want to use just the EQ and just the limiter on my master stereo mix. Simply because they are very CPU intensive. There's so much going on in terms of processing and sound quality that if you put an Ozone 5 module on an element within your mix, you will get quite a lot of latency. We actually have, it's a lesser known but fantastic plugin called Alloy, and you can think of it as Ozone's like younger sister, younger brother. It's a zero latency mixing plugin, and it includes much of the DSP from Ozone. And I can show you actually, it looks like this. Let me pull it up. There it is. So So it includes the equalizer, it includes an exciter, which again we can choose between like